Welcome back to Music Nuggets. Today's nugget is about triad pairs and how you can imply 4 different sounds using just one triad pair. So if you learn this one trick, you can move it around to get radically different sounds and imply different modes. So the key to this is understanding modes as much as possible so that you know where to place this depending on where you are and what sound you want. So let's just dive right in and learn the trick itself, and then we'll talk about moving it around and doing different things with it. It's basically a major scale, so this would be the major scale root, but for now ignore the crosses and the dashes because these are basically major or minor thirds in this context. So it's a major scale with these major thirds missing, and we'll talk about what those crosses are soon. The reason it's color coded, and as always there would be a download of the whiteboard image down below in the description, but the reason it's color coded is so that you can see the 2 triads that you're using clearly. So the first one, let's start on fret 3. So imagine this is fret 3, so we're going to get A Dorian sounds from this, so we're basically getting kind of minor 6 sounds. And to imply this sound, the triads you use are, it would be basically, what's that? Like D major triad and C major triad. So the D major triads are the red dots, so that's going, and we'll just do them moving downwards in a really sort of logical fashion to begin with. So moving down through that, I would pick 3 notes at a time and then repeat it from the note below the last note that you played with the new triad. So that's a D major triad. That's basically 5th, 3rd root, and then we've got a C major triad, 5th, 3rd root, and then whatever the next note is in the other triad. So you're just alternating between the 2. Play that next. So now it's going to go 3rd root 5th of the D. So, and we know that as a D shape. Pretty much everyone will know that. And then the next note that you left off from before, so it'll go 3rd root 5th of the C, and then you're going root 5th 3rd of the D, and then root 5th 3rd of the C. So I just played that. So you get this effect when you build this whole picture up. So that's me here at the lowest point. And you can build that up so that you're quite nifty with it. It's just muscle memory, really. And you can hear at the moment that kind of sounds, because we played that D chord, like we're implying D. And you could easily be implying like D dominant kind of sounds. But we're going to play it over an A minor chord to begin with. So all this stuff is going to go over types of A chords. So if we play that over an A minor, good enough for jamming. So if we play alternating C, so inversions of C and D over that, which is really what we're doing when we do this. They are just C and D alternating. Then we're going to build up an overall kind of Dorian flavor, because like the root of the D is the 4th of Dorian. The 3rd of a D is the major 6 within a minor chord. So it's going to give you that kind of sound. And the root of the C is the minor 3rd of the A Dorian. And the 3rd of the C is the 5th of the A Dorian. So it's giving you all the right flavors basically, and there's another note in each of those. There'd be the 5th of each thing, so the 5th of the D is actually the root of the A, and the 5th of the C is the 7th, the flat 7th of the A. So it's going to give you like a really Dorian flavour, but in an unusual kind of alternating way. So you end up with this kind of thing. I'll just play those chords against this chord. So like we've got C, C, D, C, D, C, D, C, and so on. You can move those around, but then when we use this pattern, we're basically doing the same thing, but we're arpeggiating it, we're breaking it up. So like, and obviously you can just mix that with anything else that you're doing. So you can move from kind of bluesy stuff into that. You can just use it as a way of branching out with your phrasing. And like the diminished triad pairs that I used in a video before, it makes it melodic just because triads are melodic. So it gives, even though it's kind of randomized, it has a melodic feel. So mixing it with other things. So I'm just kind of playing randomly, but you can hear that has an interesting quality about it, and you can really mess about with the order of the intervals. So that is implying A Dorian. If you want to get more technical and theoretical about it, if this is A Dorian, so we're in G major, which is why we would play that at fret 3. So major, Dorian, Phrygian would be B Phrygian in the key of G major, and then up a semitone you would have C major, and then up a tone you would have D major again. So that's why we're alternating C and D major triads. So let's look at it from a different angle now. The beauty of this is you can move it around, because you can think about, well, what other keys can I have two major triads tone apart to get like a different sound. So the other thing is you can play on one of the two major triads. So the next thing to try would be, let's try it on fret 12 for the Lydian, because I really like the Lydian vibe. So I'll put down a different loop this time. This time we're going to imply Lydian flavor, so we need an A major chord to play over. Let's make it major 7. And that'll be interesting because the 7th actually isn't in the triad pairs. So now the idea is, this is the Lydian home, because Lydian would be chord 4, and the Mixolydian place, the next chord up, if we're in A Lydian, then it would be B7. So it's basically A and B major triads. So now we're thinking, how can we get this? Because if you think about it, this is chord 4, this is chord 5. Chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. Again, knowing your modes really helps with this. So if this is chord 4 and this is chord 5, then we want this to be A and we want this to be B. So we would move this to the 12th fret. So there's an A major triad, or thinking about it, root 3rd 5th. So, and then there's a B major triad. So we've got root third fifth. So now what we're thinking about is all A and B triads. And again, we can just move inversions of the triads around against that A chord. So we can in fact just do this kind of thing. And then you can arpeggiate within those. Oh. So you could just actually arpeggiate those triads and get interesting effects, and it gives you a way to move from one area of the next to the next. So that's kind of useful too. Like if you're playing Lydian stuff, and then again, because we know where chord 4 and chord 5 are in this shape, so we're thinking it's E major, key of E major will give us a Lydian. So there's the E root, 12th fret. So now we're starting from here on the 14th fret, so like. So to get those Lydian sounds, that's the same shape that we learned down here for Dorian. But we're placing it up at the 12th fret instead. So now you get this effect, the Lydian effect. So exact same shape, just knowing where to place it is going to give you a completely different vibe, a completely different mode, a completely different tonality. So the other one to try next would be to see it the other way around. So now we're kind of seeing it like we're wanting to imply A mixolydian. So if we want A mixolydian, the starting point of the major scale shape needs to be on the 10th fret, so that here we have G and A. So now this is an A triad and this is a G triad, whereas before this was a B triad and this was an A triad. So we're sliding it down a tone basically. That's the idea behind this. And because it's mixolydian, major 7 chord isn't going to work, so I'm just going to put down, in fact I'll put down a dominant chord for this, just so that you hear the tonality straight away. So like, so now we're thinking A triads and G triads. So like we've got, if I put it into chords, A, G, A, G, A. Traveling further, A, G, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. that's just playing A and G triads all over the place. Again, you could arpeggiate that. And it will give you that tonality overall. It's kind of, if you think about it, the G, the root of the G is the 7th of the A. So like if we've got an A root, the root of the G is giving you the 7th in that dominant chord, like. And the 5th of the G is making the A suspended because it's a 4th. So it's kind of like we're playing. It's kind of like we're playing this kind of thing. So like, and then the root of the G. Oh, we've covered the root. The 3rd of the G is the 9th of the A. So it's giving you. So it's basically giving you one of those Luther Vandross chords. It's giving you that sound against an A root. So like you could see it as a big dominant 11 chord, or you could just see it as a G/A, but it's dominant in nature, dominant and a little bit suspended, but you are playing the thirds when you play the A arpeggio, so it's not really suspended. But this is the effect it gives you. Now let's just take this and play it from the 10th fret against that A chord, and it will give you a Mixolydian vibes. So. So basically another whole different tonality coming from just shifting it to the 10th fret. And if you have a looper, you could just lay down like a one note rhythmic loop. So you could just put down A and hear the difference of those. Quickly do that. So like maybe something like. Fret 3 is going to imply Dorian. So there's your A Dorian sounds. If we shift it to 10th fret, we're going to get A Mixolydian. So like. And then if we shift it to 12th fret, we're going to get Lydian vibes, so we're going to get this kind of feel. So 12th fret. And you can use any of your modes to find those triads within it. When I was doing the Mixolydian thing, I was actually, instead of playing them up here, you can learn them within like a Mixolydian mode, so you can find them within that too. But I'm not going to map all those up. I think if you get one, you can start to hear the sound and you can find it within all your modes. The last thing that I wanted to show is how this can actually imply like altered dominant sounds. So it could be used as like a mechanism over a 2-5-1, or moving from the 1 to the 4 chord when it gets more tense in blues. So over that chord, the reason that I've put X's here is because this is a major scale without a third. So it could just as easily be a melodic minor scale without a minor third. And if you see it that way, if you play it, let's say you play this stuff on the 5th fret, you're going to get minor sounds with major 7ths. You're going to get melodic minor sounds. So like if that's the 7th fret, then you're going to hit melodic minor sounds without hitting the minor third, which is a bit weird, but kind of interesting and vague. So like a melodic minor chord, if you look, there would be the root, minor third, 5th, major 7th, so you get this kind of effect. It's kind of James Bond chord territory, so like pretty weird. I'm playing that from 7th fret, but it still has a sound. So that's kind of interesting as like a weird extra tonality to this. I guess there's 5 sounds really within this, because the other place where this is particularly useful for building up licks and moving from one chord to another is over altered dominant chords. So if this is the melodic minor home, then the altered scale starts here, also known as super Locrian, and you can see that you've got like the root, flat 2nd, minor 3rd, flat 4 or major 3rd, however you want to see it. A sharp 4 or flat 5, however you want to see it. The altered scale is weird. Sharp 5 or flat 6, however you want to see it. Flat 7, and then the root again. So you've got all those outside tones within an altered dominant chord. So that's basically, the chord is that note, flat 7. So I'm now playing this from the 5th fret, altered dominant root in the 5th fret, flat 7, major 3rd, sharp 5, flat 9. So you get all that awesome tension. And now we're thinking, if that's the 5th fret, that's the 6th fret, and that's the 8th fret. So now we're going to play that triad and that triad from the 8th and 6th fret respectively. So if I put down that chord, we'll get altered dominant sounds without hitting the 3rd. So again, it's quite vague. So that can be quite useful for like either traveling from the 1 to the 4 in blues. So, you know, it could be going like, like this sort of thing. So you could use that to basically go move outside and then resolve again when it goes. So let's see if I can demonstrate that. So like this sort of thing. So like, so what I was doing there is I was just using that from the 8th fret, so like, and then I'm thinking land on the 5th of the D. If you start it here, you can land on the root of the D, so like, sorry, the 3rd of the D. Whatever you start on and play in triplets, you're going to land on. That's starting on the 3rd. And then you could, and that would land you on the root. So I'll just demonstrate a couple of those. So like, that was starting on the 3rd and landing on the 3rd. So I didn't quite land that one, but you can hear even if you grab a little bit of the outside stuff, it sounds great. So I'll start on the root and land on the root this time, try and actually do it in triplets. So I think that kind of shows the potential of it, and that could easily be like a 5, like a 5, 1, like from a 2-5-1. And you could use the same phrasing. You could do like Dorian stuff. And then use that for the 5 chord of the 2-5-1 part stuff. So it's hugely powerful stuff, and you can really mess about with the way that you change the intervals around and stuff like that. I've really rushed through it today because there's so much to talk about there, even though it's just one shape, it's just one technique, one set of triad pairs, but so many different uses. So hopefully you can get your head around that. If you've got any questions, then put them in the comments below. If you like this, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.